There's a moment every summer night that almost nobody talks about. You walk into your bedroom around 10 p.m. and the air just sits there, warm, thick, barely moving. The ceiling fan is spinning, but all it's doing is stirring the same trapped heat in a slow circle. You check your phone and the outside temperature reads 72 degrees. Your room thermometer says 84. That gap, 12 full degrees hotter inside than outside, is not bad luck, and it is not the weather. It is something that was done to your house, quietly and deliberately, starting about 50 years ago, and the fix costs $5. Rural farming communities across Pennsylvania and Ohio have been sleeping cool through summer for 2 centuries, without a single air conditioner. Not because they have special houses or special geography, because they kept using a method that the rest of the country slowly forgot. Not through any dramatic suppression, but because nobody with money to spend on advertising had any reason to keep reminding you it existed. That method has 3 parts. The materials total about $5, and you can have it running tonight. But before we get to the method, you need to understand why your bedroom reads 84 at 10 p.m. when it is 72 outside. Because the answer is the opposite of what most people assume. The heat is not coming in from outside. It is coming out from inside your own walls. Here is what is actually happening. Every piece of lumber in your house, the wall studs, the floor joists, the roof deck, spends the entire day absorbing heat from the sun like a stone left in a fire. By late afternoon, that wood is fully loaded. Then the sun goes down, the outside air drops 10, 15, sometimes 20 degrees, and that lumber wants to release what it stored. Heat always moves from hot to cold. That is one of the most reliable rules in all of physics. So the wood in your walls is trying to hand its stored heat back to the cool night air outside. That is the natural cycle. That is how a house is supposed to breathe. The problem is, your house no longer lets it happen. Starting around 1978, as residential energy codes tightened, builders began sealing houses like containers. Vapor barriers stapled behind the drywall, spray foam packed into every gap, sealed soffits, sealed gable vents, weather stripping on everything that opens. In winter, in a cold climate, that sealing genuinely saves energy. It keeps furnace heat inside where you want it. But in summer, all that same sealing traps the heat your lumber absorbed all day inside the walls all night long. The heat has nowhere to go. The cool night air is sitting right outside the wall, unable to get in and do its job. So the stored heat radiates inward into your room, while you try to sleep inside what is essentially a slow radiator made of 2x4s with the vents sealed shut. Traditional farmhouse builders never sealed their homes that way. They had no furnace heat to trap and no air conditioner to justify the cost of sealing, so they maintained something the rest of us quietly stopped thinking about: a working relationship with the night air. A study comparing older farmhouses in Lancaster County to similarly sized conventional homes in the same climate found the older homes ran measurably cooler in summer with no mechanical cooling at all. Not because of better insulation, because they had a different relationship with how air moves through a house at night. The method those communities have used across generations is built on a principle called the stack effect. It is the same physics that makes a chimney work. Hot air rises and exits through the top. When it exits, it pulls cooler air in from the bottom to replace it, automatically, with no fan and no electricity. The only thing you need to make it work is an open path from low in the house to high in the house. In a sealed modern home, that path is blocked at every point. The basement door is shut, the attic hatch is sealed, the air has nowhere to go, stack effect has nowhere to pull. Setting up that path, what old farmhouse carpenters called the night draw, costs exactly nothing. You open the door at the bottom of your basement stairs, or the access hatch to your crawl space. You open one bedroom window on the shaded side of the house, usually the north or east side. And you open one window, or vent as high up as you can get. The highest window in the house, the top of the stairwell, or the attic access hatch propped open 3 inches with a wood block. 3 inches is the sweet spot. More and the cool air races past your room before it has time to work. Less and the flow chokes. That temperature difference between the cool basement and the warm attic creates a pressure difference. That pressure slowly and steadily pulls cool ground level air up through your bedroom and out the top of the house all night long. The first time I set this up in my own house, the room started at 82 degrees at 10 p.m. At 4 in the morning, the thermometer read 16 degrees lower, with nothing running but 3 open doors and 2 open windows. The second piece cost about $4. You need 4 yards of plain, unbleached cotton muslin, the loose, undyed kind that feels slightly rough between your fingers. That open weave is essential. Tightly woven cotton will not work. Polyester will not work at all. Polyester is a plastic and water beads off the surface within an hour. You need a material that holds moisture in the fiber and lets air pass through it at the same time. Soak the 4 yards in cold tap water. Wring it out so it is damp but not dripping. Then hang it across the inside of the bedroom window you opened for the night draw, draped over the curtain rod, clipped to a string pinned to the frame with push pins. The method does not matter as long as the cloth hangs freely with air able to move past both sides of it, Every bit of incoming night air now has to pass through that damp cotton on the way into the room. When drier outside air passes through wet cloth, it picks up water vapor, and to pick up that vapor, it has to give up some of its own energy. The energy it gives up comes out as a drop in temperature. This is evaporative cooling, the exact same thing that cools your skin when sweat meets a breeze or makes you shiver stepping out of a pool on a warm day. Well, I want to be honest with you about this because the internet is full of people who are not. In dry climates, the drop across that wet muslin is dramatic. In genuinely humid air, the evaporative effect is more modest, because air already saturated with moisture cannot absorb much more. In humid conditions, the night draw does most of the heavy lifting and the muslin adds a few degrees on top. Both together you feel, and your thermometer shows. The third piece carries the cool into the morning, and it costs about $1. Take your oldest, most worn cotton bed sheet. The thinner the weave, the better it works. Dissolve 1 cup of coarse rock salt, the cheap kind sold in large bags for water softeners, not refined table salt, into a gallon of warm water and stir until clear. Soak the sheet in that brine until it is saturated, then wring it out until it is damp and heavy but not dripping. Hang it on a rack or line strung about 2 feet above the head of the bed at sundown. Here is the mechanism, and it is genuinely clever. Through the cool night hours, the salt dissolved into the cloth pulls moisture out of the rising humidity. So the sheet does not dry out. It stays damp on its own all night without re-wetting. Then in the morning, as the room begins to warm, that moisture evaporates gradually over hours. As it evaporates, it pulls a small, continuous amount of heat out of the pocket of air directly above your bed. It does not blast you with cold. It keeps that air over your pillow from climbing as fast as the rest of the house climbs through the morning, giving you a few more hours of comfortable sleep before the day fully takes over. The salt also means you do not need to wash the sheet between nights. Rinse it at the end of summer, hang it to dry, fold it away until next June. Refined table salt will not do this job properly because it has anti-caking agents added specifically to prevent it from absorbing moisture from the air. You want the coarse water softener rock salt, essentially pure sodium chloride, which is highly hygroscopic, meaning it actively pulls moisture from the surrounding air rather than repelling it. Now, the 2 honest limitations. First, if your house has no basement and no crawl space and no shaded north side opening, the night draw still works. It just pulls from wherever the coolest air source is. A shaded garage, a north-facing screened porch, ground-level windows on the cool side of the house. The bigger the temperature difference between your inlet air and your outlet air, the stronger the draw. Second, and I need to say this plainly, these are techniques for making a warm night more bearable. They are not a substitute for real cooling during a genuine heat wave. If temperatures are not dropping at night, if anyone in the house is elderly or has heart or breathing conditions, if someone stops sweating in the heat or shows signs of confusion or dizziness, that is a medical situation. Get to real air conditioning or a cooling center. The traditional farming families who pioneered these methods used their root cellars and spring houses in the worst of the summer heat. They were the first to say the night draw does not beat everything. On a normal summer night, the whole system costs $5 to set up and nothing to run after that. No filters, no compressor, no refrigerant, no electric bill, no contractor. It runs on physics. A 1972 split level in Ohio cooled its master bedroom from the low 80s at 10 p.m. down into the 60s by morning, with the air conditioner completely off once the night draw path was opened. Basement inlet on the shaded north side, attic hatch propped 3 inches, registers and returns all opened. A standard post-war house. No stone walls, no historic construction, just the path opened back up. Nobody ever made money publishing that fact. The knowledge sat in an agricultural bulletin from 1946, quietly circulated through county extension offices for a few years, and then faded out of the recommended literature in the same decade that window air conditioner manufacturers were pouring advertising budgets into those same rural regions. The physics did not change. The bulletin did not stop being true. It just stopped being the thing anyone with a product to sell had a reason to put in front of you. At Hidden Fix Lab, that is the specific gap we are here to close. Try this tonight. Open the basement door, prop the attic hatch, hang the damp muslin, soak 1 old sheet in 1 cup of rock salt and a gallon of water, and hang it 2 feet above your pillow at sundown. Then come back and leave 1 number in the comments. What your bedroom thermometer read at 5 in the morning and what state you're in. Because that data matters. It tells the next person what to expect in their climate, their humidity, their house. The knowledge is only useful when it spreads, and it spreads 1 real number at a time.